Well, I can use a few words to describe, what I feel about this press conference and also China's efforts in this sector. The first word would be result. The result speaks for itself. As you mentioned, the spokesperson listed the tremendous progresses that China has made over the past 10 years, And if you take a look at even overseas studies, for example, University of Chicago earlier this year, they made a study. They found out that China had reduced pollutions by 30 to 40%, and as a result, Chinese people's life expectancy has been basically extended by 2 to 4 years. I mean, that's really something. And the second word I would use to describe the Chinese effort would be the manner. When Chinese government says something, they mean it. And they not only talk the talk, they walk the walk. It's a bit different from, say, some of the countries on climate change, for example. They made promises, but sometimes they find it hard to materialize. But when Chinese government makes the promise of this, we know the two goals, the 2030 carbon neutrality, 2060 zero emissions, few people have doubts that China will achieve those goals. And the third word I would like to use is really the priority. The Chinese government prioritizes the fight against pollution, the effort against climate change. One reason is really the Chinese tradition. Which stresses very much about balance or harmonious relationship between humanity and the nature. So that's basically a restoration or revival of the Chinese tradition. When the Chinese government decides to tackle this pollution issue, you can see the Chinese public are completely with them. And also, the Chinese government has gone beyond that. It's more than environment protection, climate change, sustainable development. It's also about they prioritize it as like an ecological civilization. I think as time goes on, the international community will gain more and more understanding of the Chinese terminology here, civilization of ecology here. And lastly, you may say, it's really the wisdom. The Chinese government, at the very early stage, they sensed this potential and this emerging industry. You may call it like a green industry. It's not only about protecting the environment or fighting climate change. It's a new industry, and that explains why China is leading in terms of the production of EV, batteries, the renewables in particular. So there's a reason. I think you have to give full credit to the Chinese government for this smart decision, this wisdom.